702. Travel.
On our travel feature for today, we're talking why sustainable travel is now becoming a trend and how South African accommodation owners can meet that demand. And if you are somebody who owns accommodation and you want to be part of the movement and be included when people want to select you, listen up for this conversation, but also share with us your stories and experiences and the things that you are doing to make yourselves more sustainable. We're joined by Dr. Andrew Dickson, engineering executive at CBI-Electric. Doctor, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Neville. Thank you for having me.
Doctor, why is sustainable travel becoming such a trend?
Like everything, Neville, you find that people want to travel, they want to get out there and see places, but at the same time, they are thinking about the environment, they are thinking about the impact of what humans have impacted on the world and what they are doing while traveling. I mean, if you consider an airfare and the carbon footprint that you have just around an airfare, so when you get to a destination, you want to be more thoughtful about what you're doing, where you're spending your money, how you're spending your time, and obviously what impact you have on the environment.
And I think it really is quite important because many people are becoming highly, highly selective in that regard. What trends have you noticed, particularly in our country? Do you think we're at a place yet where, and I'm being very specific about this word, where we have the luxury to think about sustainability with all the millions of other challenges that we are facing?
It is a luxury, but I think it's also a necessity. So everyone's got to make a difference. We can't just expect the powers that be to make the difference. We can't expect no one to make a difference. We all have to take a step. So again, in travel, we need to look at sustainable options. How do I reduce my carbon footprint? How do I consume less energy? And remember, energy is not only electricity, and obviously electricity is very close to all of our hearts, but it's any resource. So water's in that as well. General air pollution, how we burn carbon, all that comes about. So if we're thinking about that while we're out and traveling, and everyone's doing a little bit, then It becomes, as you say, a movement, and it becomes something that actually has an impact, not just one person doing it.
So what are we specifically looking at when we talk about sustainable travel?
So from my perspective, and I mean, the Airbnb is particularly something which has become sort of a very much everyone goes to travel. They no longer really look at sort of the big hotels or anything else like this. It's where can I get comfortable accommodation that doesn't feel very formal, but is accessible, affordable. And then on the other side of it is how do I monitor? How do I consume less energy while I'm in that environment? And this is where hosts and visitors can work together to say, listen, can I create thresholds? Can I create an environment which informs me what I'm doing, how I'm consuming, particularly in this case, electricity, and therefore make my journey a little bit less carbon intensive. So again, limit the amount of power consumed, control your usage on your geysers. It doesn't mean you have to have a cold shower every morning, but it doesn't have to be piping hot that the geezer's running all night. It can go on at specific times. So you could make an arrangement with the host to say, listen, very often I'm going to go out at 8 o'clock in the morning. Generally I'd like to shower at 7:30. And through smart technologies, we can create the environment which allows for a comfortable stay, but doesn't have the impact that we've traditionally had through our electricity consumption.
And I think some of the things that you are mentioning, there may be some people who feel like, I would love to do this for my little guest house or my little bed and breakfast, but some of the options look quite affordable. Are there any other things that I can take into consideration? I do want to be part of this movement.
Certainly. And I mean, again, there's not a one-size-fits-all here. We've got to choose our options very carefully. So, if I start just looking at pure consumption, it's about what consumes heavy power and how do I mitigate some of that? So your geysers, your stoves, your ovens, those kind of things. And the ability to put in smart technology into your installation, which gives you the ability to see what you're doing, set automatic timers based on a particular environment, based on a particular condition, based on a sunrise, sunset, all comes about, and these technologies exist. So you can go out and spend a couple of $100 and install a basic controller, which may just say, turn on your geyser and turn off your geyser. But also as a host and having an accommodation, you may want to know what your clients and customers are doing as well. So this gives you visibility on that. And when consumption goes up too high, you may be in the position to say, listen, what are you doing in the house? What's happening? And therefore actually controlling your costs as well, because that can also come to bite a host, where someone goes in and, let's say, extravagantly throws massive parties, has the oven going full blast all the time, the geysers, you're running water all the time. And you end up in a situation where you've charged them, let's say, a couple of thousand a night, but they've consumed, and particularly with our increasing electricity costs, they consume massive amounts of energy, and suddenly you're left with a bill. So it gives you a sort of dual purpose, control visibility, but then also you can work the sustainability side of things, reducing your consumption, controlling that consumption, and saying, you know what, I did my part, even though I was out traveling.
I think you have presented some things that many people can take into consideration, particularly around this. And I do think that, as you say, it is an absolute necessity, and we will have to get to a point where all of us are investing in making sure that also as travelers, we are becoming a lot more sustainable. Any thoughts specifically for travelers when it comes to what to look out for on your Airbnbs and your booking.coms?
Again, because this is relatively a new side of the social trend, they're not going to be visible necessarily on the websites, but it is questions you can ask the host, i.e. what practices are they putting in place? Am I consuming sort of coal-based energy, or is it the green energy? You know, we talk about green electrons these days. Where's my water going? Are you reusing grey water? Are you harvesting rainwater? Those have become very important from a sort of environmental impact of your journeys, and what you can ask them to say, you know what, actually I prefer this accommodation to that accommodation, because they're worried about the environment.
Oh, indeed. Dr. Andrew Dickson, thank you so much for having a chat to us around this sustainable travel. It might feel like a luxury, but definitely is a necessity.